So we're pretty much halfway through 2017 already, and I still have not made a What's on my Android video. It's been way too long, and so here are the apps I use on my Android phone on a regular, if not daily basis. You can pretty much consider this to be a top Android apps Hall of Fame video, as I'm pretty sure each and every app I talk about has actually been featured in one of those videos at some point in the past. So firstly, I'm still using the OnePlus 3T as my daily driver, and that means it is my personal phone and pretty much take it everywhere I go, even if I'm reviewing a different device. Jumping into the setup, now I featured my new setup in last week's Best Nova Launcher Setups episode, and since then I've slightly tweaked it to give you the look you're seeing right now. So that wallpaper is from the Frames application, which I will link in the notes, and the icon pack I'm now using is the Delta icon pack. It's got more of a flatter color palette which suits the wallpaper a little better than the previous icon packs I had tested. That weather widget is a custom-made replica of the weather widget found on the new Samsung devices. I reckon it looks pretty sleek, and I grabbed my one from the awesome guys over on XDA, and I'll link that down below as well. I've still got it set up to trigger the Google Weather application, which I've done so using Tasker, so if you want to set that up yourself, the article I referenced will also be linked. Okay, moving on to the apps I use regularly. So firstly, I always use the month calendar app widget in pretty much all of my setups, and put simply, it just provides a really minimal and visually appealing way of referencing what's coming up on my calendar, as well as for quickly adding reminders for events on the fly. It's pretty much always one of the first things I install on my phone, and I use it fairly often. Now, lots of you also ask in the comments how I get that Pixel style navigation bar, which you can see here, and I do so using the Pixel Navbar app. It's actually really simple. You pretty much only have the option to toggle it on or off, and it does have these sliders that let you customize the width of the buttons depending on the device you're using. But the real beauty of it is that it isn't an application that requires root access. Because of this though, you do need to re-toggle it each time you reset your device, and there are a few apps it doesn't seem to work in, but other than that, I love the look of it and it's free, so I do not complain. If I swipe my dock over, I wanted to highlight a few of the apps I use on the daily or thereabouts. The first being Podcast Addict, which is a really neat podcast application. As you can see, I'm subscribed to a fair few different podcasts, and fun fact, I'm definitely obsessed with Survivor at the moment, but really, it's super easy to search for any podcasts or explore if you're interested in discovering something unknown, and it doesn't have any over-the-top bells and whistles in terms of its design and features, but it does the job very well, which is why I love it, and I use it pretty much all the time. In that same secondary dock page, I also use the LifeX application, which has recently been given a design overhaul, making it way better than it previously was. And then on the far right of that secondary page is my second email app, which is MyMail, and I pretty much keep that as a dedicated application for my work emails. Believe it or not, I've also just recently jumped on board the Spotify train. I did hold off for a long time, but then I signed up for a trial, and of course I was then hooked. But it's awesome that I can just have heaps of storage saved on my phone, yet have access to virtually any song that I want because of Spotify. So that's my main music application. And get ready for this, I'm still using every single week the Bring Shopping List application. I featured this app in a recent Top Android Apps video, and to be fair, I didn't really think I'd personally keep using it, but then it turns out I actually love this thing. Obviously, its main feature is to let you keep a digital shopping list, but without a doubt, my favorite feature is that you can share these lists with anyone, meaning that I can always see what's needed and what's just been bought, and anyone I share it with can also update it at any time, and I really do appreciate having this app in my life. Another app I featured in a Top Android Apps video, which I still use regularly, is Ike, which is a to-do list application. For some odd reason, most of the to-do list applications found on the Google Play Store just aren't that good, and Ike is definitely the best one that I've personally come across. It's got a great user interface. I really love the animations and the design choices they've implemented, and I use it fairly regularly to keep reminders on my phone. I still also use Lookup from time to time, which is basically a dictionary but on steroids. The best feature undoubtedly being that if you're in an article and there's a word you don't recognize, all you do is highlight it, tap the three dots and hit Lookup, and then you're presented with the definition, which is really convenient and great. I also still use Night Screen every single day. This is basically for those of us who feel that their devices' displays don't dim quite as much as they should, which is, I feel, the case with my OnePlus 3T. And this app basically takes it that extra step of the way so your eyes don't get blinded in the dark. The best part about it though is that it can be placed as a toggle in your quick settings, and so all you do is tap on it to toggle it on, and again to toggle it off, which makes my life super convenient. Second to last, ever since the move to Nougat, I've jumped back on the Textra SMS train. So this is obviously the app I use for any text messaging communication. I've actually recently enabled the ability to use stock Android notifications, which means we now have that beautiful inline reply with Textra SMS, which for me is a must. And so I'm loving using this app once again. And finally, the last app I wanted to showcase is another from a recent top Android apps video, and that is Caffeinate. So this app doesn't have its own icon or its own menu, but it's found in the quick settings, and it basically allows you to temporarily extend the timeout duration of your phone's display. So my phone's timeout is always set to around 1 minute, but if I've got a recipe I'm referencing or a chord chart that I want to play on guitar, Caffeinate makes it super easy to temporarily extend that timeout duration. Of course, you could jump into the system settings like I used to do and change it that way, but I actually always used to forget changing it back. And more than that, it's actually just really annoying to have to do that over and over again. So this app is actually surprisingly pretty great. And that is really all of the apps and features of my setup that I wanted to showcase today. Obviously, there's a bunch of other apps I use regularly, but you've all seen them before, so there's no point showing you again. As always, everything I've mentioned will be linked in the notes below, and feel free to ask any questions about my setup in the comments as well. But that's it. Thanks all for watching, and I'll catch you later.